Welcome. Good evening. My name is Dr. Rodriguez, and I am the Executive Director of Residential Life. I first want to congratulate you on your admissions to the University of Vermont, and I am extremely thrilled to spend a little bit of time with you this evening to talk about housing here at UVM. Specifically, we'll spend some of our time together talking about a few things. We'll talk about what makes housing here at the University of Vermont unique. We'll explore a little bit our learning communities and give you a broad overview about what they are so you can begin to understand them. We'll talk briefly about what you can expect from moving on campus. And of course, most importantly, we'll spend some time dedicated to your questions and hope and do our best to answer any questions you may have. So let's get started. When we talk about housing here at the University of Vermont, we often discuss the residential experience. It is likely that no matter what university you end up selecting, that you'll be required to live on campus. We like to think about our dedication to you as students who choose to live on campus at the University of Vermont. In other words, what is our commitment to you, to your growth, and to your learning as students here? And we begin by understanding that living on campus has changed drastically. The concept that you might see on TV about what it means to live on campus, and for certain, the experiences that your parents have are not necessarily aligned, are actually quite different now. And we know this because we have extensive research that lets us know that your experience in the residence halls have a huge role and influence on your satisfaction here as a student, on your ability for you to stay and be retained as a student, and also on your ability to excel and succeed academically. So in short, your residential experience is critical and key. So we like to use research to let us know how do we make the best residential experience for you. And what we know is two things. First, we know that college is going to be a long process of continuous, nonstop learning. That learning will happen everywhere you can think of, in the classroom, in your residence halls, on the way to the dining hall. And it's going to be where you do some of your biggest life skill learning. It's where you're going to learn some of your huge lessons, like how to deal with conflict, how to compromise, how to cope with failure, and how to build meaningful relationships that go beyond your time here at the university. In short, your residential experience will help you develop the skills that you need to be successful during your time at UVM and beyond. Secondly, we know that a meaningful residential experience has to include opportunities to intentionally engage with members of the campus community. What we mean is opportunities for you to engage with other students, to engage with staff, and to engage with faculty. So that is what makes us unique in how we frame the residential experience. You will hear as I talk about housing here at the University of Vermont that it's going to sound a bit different than what you might hear at some of your other campus tours. We're going to talk a lot about learning and your growth and your development. What I'm going to ask you all to do, and here's sort of my free advice. I won't charge you for this one, but I might charge you for some other advice. My free advice to you is as you go on to hear me talk about housing here at UVM, but also as you explore and do other tours at other universities, pay attention to how they frame the learning that occurs. If we limit our conversation today to solely the size of the room, the occupants, if it's doubles and triples, and what the view is, then we have lost a critical opportunity to understand the educational component of a residential and housing experience, and instead are focusing on the hospitality component of it. Of course, we'll talk about some of those pieces, but I want us to really leverage and understand the importance that housing has on your experience. So let's learn a little bit about what makes our residential experience here at University of Vermont a very different and unique. We like to conceptualize our residence halls as a place where you learn where you live. Long gone are the days where residence halls are simply places and dormitories where you just sleep at night and then go about and do your business. Really, our learning communities is a space where you can expect to be engaging in thoughtful, meaningful learning opportunities. Specifically, this is delivered through our learning community model. So our learning communities are sort of groupings of residential spaces brought together and grounded in a theme. So while the topic or the theme might change from one building to the other, here's what you can expect and what's consistent across all of our learning communities. All learning communities will provide you an opportunity to explore the theme through both an academic and programmatic lens. So no matter what the theme is, you'll be able to engage it meaningfully. They'll provide opportunities for meaningful interaction with faculty and with student leaders and with staff. And they will also have embedded in them opportunities for you to grow, develop, and again, build the skills you need to be a successful student here at UVM, and the skills you need to be successful at life beyond UVM. Okay. So again, what I'll say is, while your specific preference for a theme might change or might vary, and while you might not get your ultimate choice in your learning community, what I want you to really keep in mind is no matter which community you end up in, you will have a rich experience, and also understand that your learning community is only part of your experience here at the University of Vermont. It's not the end all and be all of your engagement, it's a part of it. So without further ado, let's talk a bit and give you a little bit of an overview regarding what communities we have to offer here at the University of Vermont. At UVM, we broadly have 9 learning communities, and I'm going to do my best to go in order and identify them accurately by the logo. So this will be a test for me, and I'm going to give you a bit of an overview about what they are. It won't probably be as in-depth as you would hope it to be, but it'll be a broad overview for you to begin to understand what these communities are about and what they have to offer. We'll start with Arts and Creativities. In Arts and Creativities, it's an amazing learning community where you can begin to cultivate your creativity and celebrate the arts by connecting with artists within the UVM community, but also within the wider Burlington community. It is a great opportunity for you as a student to engage in a variety of opportunities to explore the visual arts, performing arts, through engaging and participating in workshops and craft nights and community performances that our city has to offer. The next learning community is Culture Crossroads. It's a great space where students really deepen their capacity for learning and understanding across shared values for the exploration of culture. It's designed for the future leader who really wants to focus on creating an inclusive world where all folks are respected. In this community, you can expect to harness your creativity. You can expect to really develop a cultural-rich opportunity to engage through language exploration and understand what it means to be a global citizen here at the University of Vermont. Our next learning community is Innovation and Entrepreneurship. In this learning community, it's a fun and creative space where you get to build the skills to develop the next big idea that can either save the world, help you launch a business, or design the future solutions to some of the most difficult problems today. It's really a great space for you to work your creative energy and your problem-solving energy. The next learning community is the Leadership and Social Change. I often, better known as the change makers, I often think about this community when I think about the model of not settling for the world as it is, but rather engaging with the world as it should be. These are students who are really committed to understanding what leadership looks like at not just a hierarchical level like traditionally has been defined, but how do you make change at all levels? The next learning community is the Outdoor Experience, and this is really meant for students who might have a range in interest or experience in the outdoors. You don't have to be an outdoor enthusiast in order to explore. I certainly am not, but I have been able to participate in some of the great programs that this community has to offer, and it really allows students to be a part of their community and all the rich resources that the state of Vermont has by exploring the outdoors. Students here can expect to engage in a variety of outdoor activities throughout the Burlington area and expand their connection to the natural world beyond just our residence halls. The next learning community really resembles and embodies one of our institutional commitments to sustainability, and that's the sustainability learning community. In this space, in this learning community, students are able to deepen and celebrate their sense of place by fostering a space where everyone finds points of connection to the natural environment around us. As stewards of this great state, which has so much greenery. As someone who's from New York, I've never seen so much green. It really begs the students to explore how are they stewards and good stewards of the resources that are available to them in this space and globally. The next learning community is the Wellness community, which really focuses on the development and the building of healthy brain through exploring concepts of fitness, nutrition, mindfulness, and relationships. It explores a healthy and safe way of engaging as a college student with all the demands that are placing you, and doing so in a safe way that is free of substances that can impair the brain. I'll talk about the next two learning communities in tandem, and I will say that unlike the first learning communities that I talked about, these two learning communities are by invitation only. You will have an opportunity to rank them, but of course you will need to be invited to them. The first is the Honors College, and that is it is a college, but also an academic program with a residential component to it. And students who are admitted to the Honors College will have a separate session where they can explore and talk about the options of living in the Honors College Residence Hall as well. The Liberal Arts Scholars Program is specifically for students who are a part of the College of Arts and Sciences, and these students are able to really and able to and encouraged to explore big questions faced by humans since the beginning of time. It's a place for you to really dig deep into the liberal arts and exploration of difficult questions and exciting, fun questions that you want to explore and find exciting as a first year in college. Things to make sense of that you never thought about before with other folks who are interested in also exploring similar concepts. So liberal arts college is by application, honors college is by invitation. Students who are admitted to the College of Arts and Sciences will hear about this, or you might have already heard about the Liberal Arts College program and the Honors College program at your respective sessions. So now let's talk a little bit about what you can expect from living in the halls. Now that I gave you a little bit of an overview and a little bit of a taste regarding each learning community. We have a few questions that we typically get asked, and I want to spend some time talking about this broadly. The first question is often, what do the halls have to offer? We talked about the programmatic and the residential experience. Often students in this question are asking, what is in my space? And it's important for folks to know that all of our residence community have a range of options available and resources available. I will tell you that all buildings have free laundry, so parents, please do not believe your child when they say they don't have laundry and bring your bag home. They do have access to free laundry. They have bike storage. Each residence hall has a main front desk that serves as your point place for all of your packages, any questions you may have, issues with keys. That is the main hub. And of course, our learning communities and our buildings have a variety of different study and social spaces for you to engage in. Often students ask, well, what's in my room? What should I bring? What should I not? We have developed that section of our website a little bit further. But what I can tell you for you to expect as a bare minimum in your room is that we'll give you a bed. So that's nice of us, right? I guess you can expect a bed, and all of our beds are twin XL beds. There'll be a closet or an armoire. You'll have a desk with a file drawer, depending on the configuration, and you can expect roommates. We have a few or a handful of single rooms, so those are not plentiful, but you can expect to have a roommate or two. That's typically part of what you can expect in your space. What type of room will I live in? And it's important for us to be explicit and say that we distribute our room configurations across all class years. And what I'm trying to say by that is that we don't consolidate and put all of our first years in triples, and upper class students do not have that. That's not necessarily accurate. We like to distribute that evenly across as best as we can. So we have 3 room types: double rooms, triple rooms, and single rooms. The predominant room type that we have, or the majority of the room type that we have, tends to be doubles. The least frequent room type that we have, or the least available room type that we have, are singles. And then we have triples, of course. So roughly 30% of all of our students begin in a triple room. And we say begin in a triple room because there's always an opportunity for a triple for someone to move out, or a triple to become a double. And once that happens, we don't re-triple it, and it stays as a double. So roughly 30% of our students begin in a triple room. And then we often get a good question around gender inclusive housing. And what's important for our students to know is that we really work hard to be an affirming and welcoming community and environment. So gender neutral housing is an option that we provide across all learning communities. So you don't have to choose between having gender inclusive housing and selecting your learning community. We believe that we should have access and want to have access for all of our students. We made this process easy for students. So when you fill out your housing contract, and I'll talk a bit about what that process looks like in a few slides. It's an option for you to identify that on the front end versus having to find all these complicated processes and systems to let us know. So you're able to request gender neutral housing and or express your interest to live with someone who identifies with a different gender than yourself, or someone who identifies with a different gender than that they were assigned at birth. Everyone has that option. Okay. So let's move on to the next slide. Just a quick note. We also have students who request formal access accommodation for a variety of health purposes and or needs. We strongly encourage folks, as soon as they are eligible to sign up for sign their housing contract, to begin the process of reaching out to our Student Accessibility Services office and begin the process of requesting any kind of housing accommodations. Now, we will always meet any accommodations that we're asked to meet by the Student Accessibility Office, meaning if they tell us at any point in time, here's a need you need to meet, we will do so. But I will share with you that it's always easier to do so on the front end. The sooner we have that information, the sooner you get to work with Student Accessibility Service and they'll walk into the process of submitting the appropriate documentation for any housing accommodations based on any ability or disability needs. The easier it is for you and for us to make sure we can meet that need with minimal movement and disturbance in your housing assignment. And it's important for you to know that you're not in this alone. So I talked a bit about housing on campus, what you can expect. But I also want to just emphasize that these are only but a handful of folks who are here to support you and guide you in your process, in your journey. Specifically, the positions you see listed here are residential life staff who are in the buildings you reside. Some of these are folks who live among you as full-time professionals. We're not even mentioning RAs, those are student peers who also live with you, but these are other full-time professionals who are in your building, who are here to support you and guide you through your journey and through your process here at UVM as you live on campus. Not all of them live within the residence halls, but some of them do, but for certain, everyone here works and is really here to be a resource to you. The folks that we don't have listed, but are also a big part of your, will be a big part of your experience in the residence halls, are your resident advisors. Those are other student peers, like you are students, who play a role in helping support you in building community and making connections with other folks. So now let's explore some key dates and talk a bit about how this all connects. So you heard me spend some time giving you an overview of learning communities. It's important for you to understand that part of the process, once you have paid your deposit, is that you have the ability to go in and sign your housing contract. Part of signing a housing contract is a requirement for you to rank all 10 learning communities. So you don't get to rank one of them or two of them, you have to rank them all. You can only rank one as your number one and another one as your number two, but we ask you to rank all 10. That is so that we can do our best to place you in your top choices as space permits. We do our best to get folks in one of their top 3 choices. I'll be honest, we don't get everyone in one of the top 3 choices, but the majority of folks, we do get them within their top 3 choices. Last year, we were able to get 96% of our first-time first years placed within one of their top 3 choice of LCs. That's incredible. That's amazing. We also have other processes for students who don't get in their top LC on their first pass. So there's plenty of opportunity and time to help support students who that small 4% who do not get their top choice. But just know that right now, we're at the May 8th deadline. You have up until May 8th to explore your learning community, you can re-rank and change your rankings up until May 8th. Right now, you have a fun job. You get to explore, learn more about, make up your mind, change your mind before you commit. So again, you can only fill out the housing contract once you've submitted your UVM deposit, your fee. And once that happens, you'll receive an email that instructs you or gives you direction to filling out your housing contract. Again, your ranking can change every day. You can change your ranking 5 times a day. You can explore as often as you want. The deadline for exploring and changing your rankings of your learning community will be May 8th. The next critical deadline will be May 21st. That is when you learn what your learning community placement will be. That is when you learn which learning community will be placed in for the incoming year. And then pretty soon we're talking about your room assignment and roommate assignments for anyone who chooses a roommate. In our experience, most first years do not choose a roommate. Just to be explicit, roommate selection does not happen until much later in the process, only because first you have to be placed within the same LC, so a learning community. So you can only choose a roommate within the same assigned learning community. So we tend to not do that until after your learning community assignment has been released sometime in, I want to say June, July. But please know that because you're first years, the vast majority of folks do not select roommates. Folks who do, there's varying degrees of success. Who you feel like you might want to live in June and are adamant about that might change by August because everyone's new and you're all getting to know one another. So again, the results of that roommate placement and your specific room assignment within your learning community gets released in early August, and then it's time for the big show. We welcome you on campus in late August for orientation and move-in, and that is a very exciting time. That's the housing timeline in a nutshell. I did talk about the concept of exploring learning communities, and I want to just point out this critical date because, again, I gave you a brief overview of what they are, and there's more information on our websites, but I really want to point you all to a critical session that's going to happen on April 22nd. This is going to be an opportunity for you to join the staff of the learning communities, as well as student leaders of the learning community, to get a hands-on experience of what makes each learning community different, unique, and exciting. It's an opportunity for you to understand and learn more about what each learning community is about. So that is information I have to share with you. Please hold that date. Now I'm going to hand it over to the most important part of this presentation, answering your questions. And I would say we have about 10 minutes for a good Q&A. And pardon me here as I get set up for the Q&A and I begin to see questions. Someone asks a great question. Do I have a better chance of getting into a specific learning community based on when I submit my contract? Absolutely not. We don't want to penalize anyone for taking their time to make the right decision. This is a huge decision, understanding and determining which college you want to be a part of. Some folks get there much easier and quicker. Other folks take their time. There shouldn't be a penalty based on that. So no matter when you fill out, as long as you fill out your contract by May 8th, our algorithm will give everyone equal footing. It's not based on when you fill out your contract, and our algorithm will do its best to randomly assign as many folks to the top choice as possible. So no, when you sign the contract, it's not, if you sign it now, it does not increase your chances of getting to your top learning community. Pardon me as I scroll here. I'll do my best to read the question out loud and then answer it. Is there any housing outside of the living learning communities? There is not. Our framework and our housing model at the University of Vermont is a living learning model. We know, and our research and our data tells us that that is what helps students be the most successful. Years ago, as we were starting off this experience, we noticed that students were extremely interested in learning communities right away, and we were starting to see the extreme benefits of participating in one versus not. we saw drastic differences in student experience, satisfaction, and other data. And it kind of seems like a not good practice if we know that having and participating in a learning community is better for students. So we just require that for all students. We don't focus on room type and which room size, and our focus for housing and how we conceptualize housing is based on a learning community experience model. So I hope that makes sense. The next question, where can we find a description of the learning communities? Again, I will say that our website is a huge place for that. I'm going to ask if we can submit the link in here for you to be able to get some information about that. But that April 22nd session will be the best time for you to really engage with the students and the staff of the learning community and ask all the questions you may have. How close are the residential halls to the dining hall? I will say that we have a number of dining locations across campus. We have one dining hall on each campus. So our structure is that we have three residential campuses. Each has at least one major, what we call dining style dining hall, where students can go in and sort of eat the unlimited quantity for any given meal. It's sort of the sit down, more traditional experience with respect to dining, if that makes sense. So they're located in our residence halls. They're located in our residence halls, and there's also other locations for retail for you to explore dining options. So relatively close. You will have no difficulty in getting to a dining hall or finding food on any specific campus. The next question. If you don't get your first choice learning community for the fall semester, can you switch into it at another time? Yes, and we'll talk about that more later on. But again, we try to match up and give folks their top choice as much as possible. In July, we'll have another opportunity for those folks who did not get their top choice to express interest in a process that, as space allows, we get you closer to your top choice, so that there is an opportunity. We do that during the summertime, and if that round doesn't work, then guess what? Once you arrive on campus, we have yet another round to do that. So we try to do our best to get folks to make you all happy, knowing that we're not going to make everyone happy, but we'll do our best. How many people do random roommate assignments compared to self-selected? Let me answer your question by distinguishing between a first-time first-year student and a returner student. Returning students almost exclusively at a very high rate choose a roommate because they've been here. They've met a good friend. They're selecting their roommate not based on a post on Facebook, but because they've spent a significant amount of time. So they've been able to determine who they absolutely love as a friend, but there's just no way they will ever be caught sharing a room with them, and who are those folks who they can really see themselves living with. So that's what happens with our returners. For our first-time first-year students, the vast majority of folks do not select a roommate. They just don't. It really is, and I will hear from a handful of you who will be quite adamant about the absolute need to get your preferred roommate, but the reality is there's little you will know about one another at that time in order to make a meaningful decision about whether or not you want to share space. So most students choose not to, and it's up to you. The reality is there's no pressure to do so, as long as the student is within your current learning community. Preference if you wish, and don't if you don't want to. But there's absolutely no pressure to do so. So students are, that's a good question. The next question is, how long are students required to live in the residence halls? Students have a 4-semester residency requirement. We do say 4th semester intentionally. It gets a little weird there, but it's not a 2-year, it is a 4th semester. I will amend a question there. Is housing guaranteed for all 4 years? Housing is not guaranteed for all 4 years. Housing is for sure guaranteed for the time period in which you are required to live on campus. So we can guarantee it for the first 2 year first 2 years, to the extent that we have space and capacity for, we will absolutely assign that for your next for your non-required years, for your junior and senior year. Often we're able to fit as many folks and fit most students, but it's not a guarantee, unfortunately. All students, Elena asks, do all students live in learning communities? Yes, all students do live in learning communities. How close do learning communities correlate with your chosen major? That is such a great question. I love this question because this is the kind of, this is my challenge that I posed to you at the beginning. Let's think about learning. It ranges from not at all to extremely close. So we have some students that say, listen, I know what I'm going to do. I am absolutely going to be an engineer. So I have no interest in anything having to do with innovation entrepreneurship. That is my course of study. I want to practice my creative side because aside from being an engineer, I also love to play the guitar. Or I also have this very mean, talented poetic streak in me that I want to harness and explore. So students sometimes use the learning communities as a way to supplement their other interests, and some folks align. So it's completely up to you, but there's no requirement that you connect those two. I don't feel we can come back to dining options at another time, and the options that they have for those meal plans and the fitness centers that are available on campus. So I will come back to that at another point. Will moving day be earlier than normal in August because of COVID? Too soon to say. We intentionally shared with you that it's early August. Right now, we are still trying to solidify our plan for closing campus. We haven't gotten quite yet to the next move-in, but as soon as we have those dates solidified, we will let you know what those are. I will defer this question to Kathleen, who might know, but we have a question here that asks, when will accepted freshmen hear whether they've been accepted into the Honors College or the Honors Program? So Kathleen, I don't know if you want to answer that out loud or respond to this person, but I will. Go ahead.
Sure. Hi, Raf. Thanks for the question. So Honors College invitations will go out around February 19th. There may be situations where we add other students to the Honors College, but most invitations will go out by February 19th.
Thank you, Kathleen. The next question again goes back to, can we select or preference the type of rooms, singles and doubles? We don't have that as an option. Here's the reason why. You'll be sorely disappointed. Our housing inventory is fixed, and we would, if we focused on that, the vast majority of folks will not want a triple and will be sorely disappointed. What we can commit to and offer, and the experience we can provide, is getting students in their top 3 ranked learning communities. That is where we can really leverage a better experience for you more than the room type. That is what actually changes and has an impact on your residential experience, not the room type, but the learning that happens there. So we prioritize that above all else. I'll take one more question. We are 5 minutes out, and then I'm going to hand it over for our closing remarks. But the next question talks about safety protocols taken in the residence halls, which is incredibly important. In addition to our live-on staff, all of our buildings are key card access, and access is limited, of course, to the students who live in the residence hall and down to the building level. Sometimes the folks who live within that specific buildings are the only folks who have key card access, as well as cameras in common areas, not in residential floors, but in common areas to help keep our community safe. We also have Burlington, the UVM Police Department, which is a state-sanctioned police department, just not a security force that works here out of the university, as well as live-in staff who support the student safety aspect of living in the halls. Okay. There's a great question about in-person tours. I did promise that was my last question, but I don't know that they'll be conducting any in-person tours. I would refer, of course, to my friends in admissions who oversee those. So Kathleen, if that's wrong, please correct me. Otherwise, we can, you feel comfortable in saying that we probably won't have any in-person tours this semester.
Yes, Ralph, I agree. If for some reason something changes, we will definitely be in touch with admitted students and their families, and our website is always a great resource, but at this time we're not expecting, unfortunately, to be able to welcome visitors to campus this spring. Thanks, Ralph.
Yeah, of course. And I'm seeing there's many questions. We'll do our best to respond to these offline at the end of the session as well. We want to make sure we give folks some information. One of the questions here is really a dissertation topic, is how has residential life changed as a result of COVID? And if you have some time and can treat me to a few drinks, I can talk all about how that's happened. But that's a big topic, but it's important to say that they have changed for this year drastically. So right now, I just want to spend some time thanking you. I hope that the time we spent together was helpful in helping you understand a little bit more about our residential program here at the University of Vermont. It's been a long night. It's nearly 9 o'clock. Thank you. Congratulations again in being admitted to the University of Vermont. And I'm going to pass it off to Ryan.
Student program. We hope that you learned a lot about the University of Vermont and what we have to offer. We invite you to continue to explore. You can certainly go to our admitted student webpage. We'll continue to make updates and provide information on more opportunities for you to explore and participate in admitted student programming. If you've already made up your mind, that is amazing. We invite you to pay your enrollment fee today to officially join the class of 2025. But if you are still thinking about it, make sure that you do that by our deadline, which is May 1st. We're so excited about the possibility of you being on campus. Thank you for joining us. Congratulations again. Go Cats, go.